Have you ever noticed some patches or some spots developing on your forehead, and why it's just developing on your forehead versus the ones that where people are developing spots on their cheeks or maybe under the eyes or around the eyes? Well, the look of the pigmentation, what color it is, and where it starts to form may be giving us clues on what is going underneath the skin. Forehead hyperpigmentation is actually more common than you think, and it's actually becoming more prevalent. I'm noticing an increase in that in my own profession, treating these clients who come in for specifically hyperpigmentation on the forehead area. Now, it does seem to be increasing. Now, here are some commonalities of hyperpigmentation, specifically on the forehead. It is actually more prevalent in women, more common in women versus men, as a ratio of 4 women to every 1 man. Typically, it can be linked to taking certain medications, and it also can be related to birth control pills or any type of pills that affect the hormones, as well as when there's hormonal shifts. So it can be pregnancy, it can be menopause, and it also can be a sign that you have an overtaxed liver, pancreas, sluggish circulation, and gallbladder. Okay, guys, for some of you, it is going to be a paradigm shift. And what I mean by that is there are 4 main triggers that can exacerbate the problem. And you probably have already heard of them. They're going to be sun exposure, prolonged heat exposure, skincare products, and pre-existing medical conditions. Now, these are all things that can exacerbate the problem. But believe it or not, for more times than not, that is actually just the symptom, but it is not the cause of it. A lot of times there's an underlying cause. So then when you are exposed to sun exposure, heat exposure, or some kind of skincare products, those are things that actually can exacerbate and trigger the uneven form of pigmentation. So here is the good news. We're going to start with the easiest to treat in my experience first. So the first one is when you can pinpoint, generally speaking, when the melasma started to develop. Usually, if there was a hormonal shift where it was pregnancy, menopause, you started birth control pills, you changed your the type of birth control pills that you were taking. Something where you could generally see that, aha, at this time, this is where my melasma started to form, where other times when I went out in the sun, I never had this problem. So that's one. And typically, when there is another hormonal shift, where it's post-pregnancy, you stop breastfeeding, you are now in post-menopausal phase, or you stop taking birth control, you change your type of birth control pill, and then you see the melasma slowly starting to fade on its own. That could be that. With the addition of not getting too much sun exposure on your face while you are pregnant or you are on a certain type of birth control. So that is the reason why that is easier to treat, is because you can tell that that was a trigger with the hormone. Now, during that time, when you have the big pigmentation and you start to use tretinoin or hydroquinone during that time, or other medications, and you see that it is staying put, it could be the combination of that hormonal shift along with the topical medication that has now increased the inflammation in your skin to have that melasma form even darker and larger. So the next level is, I have good news, but I also have bad news. So the good news is that you had hyperpigmentation, you took steps to brighten it, and it actually, your skin responded and your skin brightened. But over time, if you stopped using the skincare product, that you realized that the pigmentation slowly started to come back. So this is where the good news is. We know that your skin's microbiome is healthy enough that it's using the skincare products that it started to fade. Your skin responded well. But the bad news is that your skin pigmentation slowly started to come back. So that is harder because we don't really know what the cause of it was. That's number one. Like when, what the triggering was. And also we know that that's the symptom is the hyperpigmentation, but we haven't dealt with the cause, and we don't know what it is because all of a sudden we notice that there is this change. And the other thing is different skin responds to different lighteners differently. So that's why some people will say, I used kojic acid and alpha-arbutin. That worked really well for me. Other people say, I used hydroquinone. Other people say, I used tretinoin. And here's one thing that you know that it is going to be a deeper cause. When you have a patch of hyperpigmentation and you apply the skincare products, and when you take a picture, you can see that it has faded on the epidermis level, but you can kind of see the darker, it's almost like a grayish, bluish, brownish pigmentation darker in the skin. That is going to be dermal hyperpigmentation. And that is what we're going to talk about next. Now we are getting to the bad news, which is the most difficult to treat. So typically clients who come to see me and they have pigmentation around their cheek area, but nothing on their forehead, typically that is a good sign. But over time, many of them will notice that it'll start to develop these little tiny clusters of pigmentation, as well as some patches on the forehead. Now that tells me that this has been going on for quite a long time. They may have been able to quiet the symptom by using topical treatments, but with the forehead, it tells me that the actual cause has not been addressed. So the longer it hasn't been addressed, the more it starts to spread. Now here is where typically when clients start to see that it's spreading, they have a little bit of panic that they need to do something. So they'll usually up the ante. They'll start maybe requesting more stronger and deeper level acid peels. They will ask to get a higher percentage of hydroquinone and or tretinoin, just stronger forms of topical medication. And they will just up the ante, thinking that they're not using something that is strong enough or the treatment is not going deep enough to get rid of it. And this is where your skin, because it's a live organ, is designed to protect itself. Instead of responding even better, over time what happens, because you are causing the inflammation, you're doing a self-inflicting inflammation, what can happen is your skin will start to not only form darker color pigmentation, but more tighter forms of clusters of pigmentation that becomes treatment resistant hyperpigmentation. So in the effort to try to treat themselves with stronger, more invasive types of treatments, over time what can happen is the pigmentation not only comes back, but the pigmentation is even a different color and looks darker and is more stubborn. So here's what you need to know. If you are starting to see pigmentation start to form on your forehead, you need to address it now, because it's only going to spread and it's only going to get worse. It doesn't just magically go away. If you've been using just topical over-the-counter skincare products and you don't really see a difference, you need to address this now, because obviously that is not working. Tip number 2 is you want to avoid any heat-related or heat-sourced treatments, especially laser, because if you only have epidermal hyperpigmentation and you go and you get laser pigmentation, that inflammation, now you're going to have epidermal hyperpigmentation and then dermal pigmentation, because that laser goes down deep into the dermal layers of the skin. So you have to be careful. So avoid anything that's going to avoid heat, because any one of my clients that did that realized that it was the wrong thing because it got darker. So step number 3 is you need to start to detoxify, take steps to detoxify your liver and it could be your thyroid. A lot of it, you do have to talk to a doctor or a functional medicine person or somebody who specializes in hyperpigmentation that is not going to immediately tell you to get laser or to use hydroquinone, because it's not going to work for the long term. Now, those of you who know that you have just epidermal hyperpigmentation, you may be a good candidate for a lightening acid peel, a light one, not a deep one, just to get rid of that, to exfoliate the pigmented skin. So it doesn't mean it's a blanket statement that nobody can do these type of treatments. It's just if you have the simple epidermis type of hyperpigmentation, that can work for you. But if you have tried countless products, you have tried hydroquinone, you've tried tretinoin, you've done laser, you've done trying to improve your diet, and you are not seeing any results, I'm telling you that you may have treatment-resistant hyperpigmentation, which can take time. So if you are interested in that, which that is what I specialize in, I will put a link to the description below so you can check it out. And YouTube thinks that this video may be of interest to you, because remember, makeup is an art, skincare is a science, and we'll see you in the next video.